We spend so much of our lives online, but have you ever really stopped to think about what those digital spaces actually are? I'm gonna bet it's not what you think. So let me just ask you this, straight up. When you're on social media, or you're playing a video game, or you're on any of these platforms, what's really yours? I mean, is it your profile, your followers, the stuff you've made? Well, the hard truth is pretty much none of it. On the platforms we use every day, you're basically building your entire digital life on borrowed land. You're there completely at the whim of the platform owner, and they can literally take it all away in a blink of an eye. Just think about this for a second. If you get kicked out of a real-world shopping mall, you still walk out the door with your wallet, your phone, all your personal stuff, right? But if you get banned from a social media platform, your digital identity, your network, every piece of content you've ever created, poof, it can all just disappear. That is not ownership. Okay, so this whole situation, it feels kind of normal to us now, right? But what's wild is that this isn't how the most powerful, most creative parts of the internet were built. To really get why, we need to take a quick look back in time. So, way back in the day, before the web was, well, the web, information was totally locked down in these closed systems. Think AOL. You needed permission from a gatekeeper to publish anything. But then, open standards like HTML came along, and all of a sudden, anyone could create a website. That one simple, permissionless idea led to an absolute explosion of innovation. And you gotta understand, at the time, people were genuinely asking this question. The old guard, they were so used to having gatekeepers, editors, people in charge. They just could not wrap their heads around a world where anyone could publish anything. They were seriously worried about who was gonna control it all. And the answer that changed everything? Nobody. Absolutely nobody was in charge. And that was the whole point. That single idea unleashed a wave of creativity that gave us everything from Wikipedia to Airbnb. All right, so if making information permissionless completely changed the world, what do you think happens when we do the exact same thing, but for value and property? Well, guess what? We finally have the tools to do just that. So how does this all work? Well, the key is to understand the tech, starting with blockchains. And let's just forget all the hype for a minute. Think of a blockchain in the simplest way possible. It's just a new kind of database. But here is the absolute game-changing difference. It's a database with no boss. There's no central administrator, no single person who can just go in and delete your stuff. It's run by everyone who uses it, which means that single point of control, that person with the admin password, they just don't exist. Okay, so on top of this bossless database, we can build things like NFTs. And please, just for a second, forget the cartoon pictures. At its absolute core, an NFT is just a standard digital container for property. It's a secure entry in that shared database that proves you, and only you, own a specific digital thing. And what can you put in that container? What counts as property? Well, pretty much anything that has value. We're talking money, your digital identity, brands, creative work, even your right to access a community. All of it can be put inside a container that you, and only you, truly control. So once you have these two things, a database without a boss and these containers for our digital stuff, we can start to imagine a totally different kind of digital world. We're talking about a massive shift from these private walled gardens to, well, to public squares where we actually control our own things. So what does that actually look like in practice? Well, think of it this way. Most platforms today, they're digital shopping malls. They're private property, totally controlled by one company. But an open metaverse, that's more like a public square. It's a shared space where you bring your own property and interact freely. Your assets are tokens in your wallet, not just lines in their database. And in this new world, your crypto wallet, that's basically your digital home. It's your own private, sovereign space. You keep your property there, your identity, your connections, and nobody gets in or takes anything without your permission. And the blockchains themselves, they become that digital public square. They're the neutral, common ground where we can all meet up and interact, all while knowing that the rules of the game are fair and open for everyone to see. Okay, I know this might all sound a little abstract, maybe a little techie, but the stakes here they're incredibly high. This isn't just a conversation about technology. This is about our fundamental rights for the next 100 years. Just look at this number for a second. 8 hours. That's the average amount of time someone in the West spends staring at a screen every single day. And for a lot of us, let's be honest, it's probably even more.
So you see, the metaverse, it isn't some sci-fi thing that's coming way off in the future. We are already living huge chunks of our lives in these digital environments. Our friendships, our jobs, our culture, it's all happening there right now.
And that right there is the real issue. We have this deep, ingrained sense of our rights in the physical world, right? We know what's okay in a public park versus what's okay in our own home. But for some reason, we haven't applied that same kind of thinking to our digital lives. So it all comes down to this one fundamental question. If we are going to live so much of our lives online, shouldn't we have property rights there too? Are we building a world where we're just digital tenants renting space on someone else's land? Or are we going to build one where we can be true digital citizens with actual property and real rights?